My name is Vivian Vance, and on October 27th, a Tuesday draped in the kind of dreary gray that seeps into your bones, I learned a brutal truth. The truth about how truly dangerous it is when a boy, still playing dress-up in a man's suit, decides your life's work is merely an anchor, a heavy chain dragging down his imaginary rocket ship. Sound of gentle rain outside a window, faint city hum. It was 7:15 in the morning. The sky over the sprawling metropolis of Viridian City was the bruised color of an old wound. From my corner office on the 48th floor of the prestigious Lumina Tower, the morning traffic below resembled a silent, glittering river. My ficus plant, a stoic companion for 15 years, patiently caught the weak, filtered light. The air in this sanctuary was my own careful creation, a subtle blend of old leather-bound books, the delicate, grassy notes of the silver needle white tea steeping on my credenza, and the clean, cool hum of the servers that housed the company's true heart, my heart. The Aegis system. For 2 decades, I had been the chief legal officer for Lumina Tech Innovations. But that sterile title barely scratched the surface of my role. I was the company's architect, its living memory. Every complex contract, every strategic acquisition, every groundbreaking patent, each was a brick I had painstakingly laid. And Aegis was the mortar, the very essence that held it all together. It was my creation, a proprietary AI I had designed with our visionary founder, Elias Thorne, over a decade ago. Aegis wasn't just a database. It was a digital extension of my mind, meticulously mapping every legal and financial obligation across 37 countries. It could predict the outcome of potential litigation with an astonishing 98.6% accuracy, a digital oracle. It had, without exaggeration, pulled this company back from the brink of ruin more times than the current board could ever truly comprehend. It was my life's work, codified, breathing, indispensable. He had no idea what he was truly trying to steal. Sound of a polite electronic chime, then assertive footsteps. The door chimes, and Victor Thorne, the founder's son, strides in without, waiting for a response. He's 32, armed with an Ivy League MBA, and possesses the kind of inherent confidence that only comes from a life utterly devoid of consequences. He wears a bespoke Italian suit, cut from fabric that likely costs more than my first car, but it pulls awkwardly at his shoulders, betraying the fact that he's still just a boy playing dress-up in his father's oversized closet. Vivian, he begins, his voice jarringly loud in the quiet reverence of my office. He never bothers with a greeting. We need to actionize our deliverables for the Q3 pivot. Let's circle back and synergize our verticals. It's a linguistic crime, a nonsensical word salad of corporate buzzwords designed to impress rather than inform. I take a slow, deliberate sip of my tea from the delicate porcelain cup I keep locked in my credenza, a simple, private ritual. A moment of clean, precise luxury in a world increasingly cluttered with clumsy, grasping ambition. Victor, I say, my voice perfectly even. If you're referring to the risk analysis for the Quantum Leap merger, it's already on your desk. A 50-page report detailing 17 critical points of legal exposure. He waves a dismissive hand, a gesture I've come to loathe. Paranoia, Vivian. Data is the rearview mirror. We're a rocket ship now. Risk is just opportunity. Wearing a trench coat, I make a small, almost imperceptible note on my desk blotter. This gem of corporate nonsense is definitely one for the collection. The accumulation of these small insults, these subtle degradations, had begun the day he inherited the CEO chair after his father's passing. First, my weekly one-on-one with the board, a 20-year tradition, was unceremoniously canceled. It was replaced with a dynamic synergy session run by a 24-year-old chief visionary officer, then my prime parking space. A small but significant acknowledgement of my seniority and contribution was reassigned to the CVO's brand new electric sports car. Victor himself had taken to calling my office, with its invaluable library of first edition legal texts, the museum, and my methodical, data-driven approach. He dismissed it as analog thinking. Each was a small paper cut, annoying but seemingly insignificant on its own. But they were beginning to bleed together, forming a pattern of disrespect and deliberate marginalization. What Victor didn't understand was that I meticulously cataloged every single one. Aegis wasn't just for corporate law. It was an excellent, unparalleled tool for tracking patterns of human behavior. And Victor's pattern was glaringly obvious. Reckless, entitled incompetence, personally and vindictively directed at me. Sound of faint, nervous murmuring, Then a gavel strike the day of the board meeting arrives. It's 10 in the morning, sharp. The air in the main conference room is thick with the smell of stale coffee and unspoken fear. The board members, men and women I've known for decades, fidget nervously with their pens, deliberately avoiding my gaze. They're scared of Victor's bluster, seduced by his slick talk of disruption and paradigm shifts. Too weak to challenge his ego, I stand at the head of the polished obsidian table. My presentation, titled The Unseen Liabilities of the Quantum Leap Merger, is displayed on the main screen. It's a surgical dissection of the entire deal. Using Aegis's predictive models, I meticulously reveal the tangled web of pending patent lawsuits, the undisclosed SEC inquiries, the structural rot hidden beneath a veneer of tech bro hype. My analysis is irrefutable. An ironclad case against a catastrophic mistake. The data projects a 72% chance of a class action lawsuit within 18 months of acquisition. I state calmly, my voice resonating with the quiet, unshakable confidence of absolute certainty. The potential liability exceeds $900 million. From a legal and fiduciary standpoint, it is an indefensible risk. I finish. The silence is heavy, suffocating. Then Victor starts to laugh. It's a short, sharp, ugly sound, devoid of genuine humor. He picks up my 50-page report from the table, holding it between two fingers as if it's a soiled, contemptible object. He lets it drop into the gleaming wastebasket with a soft thud. Paranoia. He sneers, his eyes finding mine, alight with a cruel, triumphant fire. He's performing for them, for the men and women who should know better, the ones who once respected me. This is the kind of analog thinking that has held this company back. He walks towards me, his overpriced Italian shoes squeaking an unwelcome rhythm on the polished marble floor. Lumina Tech is a rocket ship, Vivian, and we don't have room for anchors. He stops directly in front of me, invading my personal space. His voice drops to a conspiratorial sneer, audible only to me. Your services and your antiquated wisdom are no longer required. Security will see you out. The blood drains from the faces of the board members, but not one of them speaks. Not a single voice rises in my defense. I feel 100 pairs of eyes on me as two uniformed guards appear at the door. It's a public execution, a deeply personal humiliation designed to make an example of me. But I will not give him the satisfaction of a reaction. I simply nod, gather my slim briefcase, and walk out of the room I helped build, the company I helped forge. My dignity is the only thing they can't take from me. Sound of an elevator door opening and closing, a soft whoosh, then the rhythmic drumming of rain. The elevator ride down is silent, the guards professionally awkward in their silence. As I step out into the opulent lobby, the city outside is being washed clean by a sudden torrential downpour. Julian, the doorman, a kind man I've exchanged pleasantries with for 2 decades, can't meet my eye. In the back of a waiting taxi, the rain streaks down the window, blurring the world outside into a watercolor of gray and neon. The car smells of wet asphalt and cheap air freshener. I don't feel anger. I don't feel grief. Instead, I feel a cold, clarifying calm. The paper cuts have stopped. Now, it's time for surgery. My surgery. I pull out my personal tablet, a sleek, unmarked device with military-grade encryption. My thumbprint unlocks it. To a minimalist home screen, there is only one application on it, an icon of a simple, perfectly balanced scale. The app is named Covenant. I tap it. A start command line appears, awaiting directive. My fingers move deliberately across the screen. A precise ballet. Execute Covenant. A new prompt appears. Biometric confirmation required. I press my right thumb to the cool glass. A green light pulses. Protocol activated. This action is final and irrevocable. I close the tablet and place it back into my bag. I had built this system, this digital dead man switch, with Elias Thorne. On a rainy afternoon much like this one, he'd been deeply worried about what would happen to his legacy if Victor's arrogance and incompetence ever went unchecked. The Founders' Covenant was our answer. It wasn't just a dusty clause buried deep in the incorporation documents. It was a ghost in the machine, hard-coded into the very core of Aegis. It stipulated that if the sole key designated officer me was terminated without a 2/3 vote from the board, it would be recognized by the system as a hostile internal action, an act of treason against the company's integrity. It would trigger an immutable encrypted protocol. It would send an irrevocable execution order to the Thorne family's private trust and their escrow law firm. And it would, with absolute legal finality, transfer controlling interest of Lumina Tech Innovations directly to me. I look out the taxi window. The rain is starting to let up, revealing glimpses of the clearing sky. A small, deeply personal smile touches my lips. The rocket ship was about to learn who really owned the launch codes. Sound of a distant, faint, electronic hum, building slightly the next morning. The chaos began. I pictured it all from the serene comfort of my home office, sipping my silver needle tea. Victor, arriving late in his ridiculous sports car, would try to log into Aegis to access the merger data. Access denied. Reason: corporate integrity. Protocol violation. He'd undoubtedly call the IT department. They'd be helpless. No one but me had root access to Aegis's core architecture. The entire legal department would find itself locked out of active contracts. The acquisitions team would discover all pending international payments had been automatically suspended. I had designed Aegis to be the company's central nervous system. Now, I had induced a full-body paralysis. At T9:31 in the morning, my source on the inside, a young programmer in IT who still believed in meritocracy, sent me a single encrypted text: NICE has halted trading. Twice. At 11:45 in the morning, the call I'd been patiently waiting for came from Marcus Sterling. He was the head of the law firm that managed the Thorne Trust, a man whose voice was usually as unshakable as bedrock. Now, it was a strained whisper. Vivian, what in God's name is happening? The Founder's Covenant, Marcus, I said calmly. Section 4, subsection B. I hung up. I imagined the flurry of panicked phone calls, the frantic search through countless digital archives. I imagined the exact moment Marcus found the clause, and the blood draining from his face. At T2:07 in the afternoon, my doorbell rang. It was Victor. He was drenched from the persistent drizzle. His expensive Italian suit was utterly ruined, his meticulously styled hair a damp mess. His face was a mask of apoplectic rage, contorted with fury. "What did you do?" he screamed, pushing past me into my elegant foyer. "The company is frozen. The stock is halted. You're destroying everything." "I'm not the one who signed a term sheet for a fraudulent merger," I replied coolly, walking past him into my study. I sat behind my desk and gestured to the plush leather chair opposite me. He remained standing, vibrating with impotent fury. He begged, he threatened, he demanded. It was a pathetic, predictable cycle. I simply let him exhaust himself. When he finally ran out of steam, his shoulders slumped in utter defeat, I took a final, unhurried sip of my tea. "Your father was a brilliant man, Victor," I began, my voice soft, but carrying the unmistakable weight of steel. "He built an empire on caution, on data, and on integrity. But he wasn't a fool. He knew your weaknesses. He saw your ego, your desperate need for shortcuts, your destructive impulsiveness." I slowly turned my laptop screen toward him. Displayed on it was the digital signature page of the Founder's Covenant. His father's authenticated signature, dated over a decade ago, glowed ominously on the screen. What is this?" he whispered, his voice barely audible, robbed of all its bluster. "It's your father's insurance policy," I said. The look on his face as the realization dawned was a portrait of dawning horror, the slow motion crumbling of a world he believed was his by birthright. He was finally understanding that the company wasn't a toy he had inherited. It was a fortress, and his father had, long ago, given me the only key. He valued integrity over blood, I continued, my words precise and measured. He feared his company would one day be run by someone who valued their ego more than his legacy. He was right. This system wasn't designed to destroy the company, Victor. It was designed to protect it. From you. I watched his world collapse in real time. The color drained from his face, replaced by the waxy pallor of absolute, crushing defeat. The boy who thought he was a king had just been checkmated by a ghost. Sound of solemn, professional murmuring in a boardroom. Then a confident gavel strike. The emergency board meeting was held 2 days later. I walked into the conference room not as a disgraced, humiliated employee, but as the majority shareholder. I took the seat at the head of the table. Victor was there, smaller, grayer, a hollowed-out version of the man who had fired me. The other board members looked at me with a new, terrified respect. My first act as chairwoman was not to fire him. That would be too simple, too merciful. "Ladies and gentlemen," I announced, my voice crisp and clear in the silent room. My first order of business is to initiate a full forensic audit of all discretionary spending and third-party consultancy contracts executed under Mr. Thorne's tenure as CEO. I glanced at the main screen. Aegis was already projecting a complex web of interconnected accounts and shell corporations. The Aegis system has already flagged several anomalies for our immediate attention. I looked directly at Victor. He couldn't meet my gaze. He knew exactly what Aegis would find. The shell contracts awarded to his college friends, the exorbitant consulting fees paid to his girlfriend's non-existent PR firm, the millions siphoned away to fund his pathetic rocket ship fantasy. I knew where all the bodies were buried because I had drawn the map. The audit took less than a week. The board voted unanimously for his immediate termination for cause, stripping him of his golden parachute. His humiliation was total. His professional ruin was absolute. My first full day as the new chairwoman and CEO of Lumina Tech Innovations was quiet. I walked the 48th floor. It was my floor now. My office was exactly as I had left it. My ficus plant stood sentinel, a silent testament to endurance. I unlocked my credenza, retrieved my porcelain teacup, and brewed a fresh pot of silver needle tea. The delicate aroma filled the room, erasing the last lingering scent of Victor's cheap cologne and his resounding failure. My final act of the day was a symbolic one. The main conference room, the very scene of my public execution, had been renamed. It was now the Elias Thorne Founders Room. I held a small, heavy bronze plaque in my hands. The inscription was my own. I picked up my vintage 1942 Pelican fountain pen, the one I reserved for documents of true importance. I signed my name at the bottom of the first executive order beneath it. The plaque read, "Integrity is the only asset that can't be bought. It must be defended at all costs." The camera of my mind pulls back. I see myself alone in the vast office, the city lights beginning to glitter below like scattered diamonds. I didn't just get my job back, I took the kingdom. And it is a kingdom now ruled by order, by memory, and by the quiet, unshakable power of a promise kept. The satisfaction is not loud or explosive. It's a deep, warm, intensely personal hum. The perfect, silent functioning of a system working exactly as designed.